Hello and welcome to Jedediah's Corner. And I just left the meeting with Roots. It was at I believe the congregation is called Shabbat Shalom. It is a Jewish synagogue in East Orange, New Jersey. I didn't film it, and I didn't even take my camera out. I felt like if I asked, there's two gentlemen that spoke. His name is Rabbi Schlesinger, and the other gentleman's name is Nur Awad. Rabbi Schlesinger was a settler, still lives in a settlement, and Nur Awad is a Palestinian who lives in Bethlehem. So they got together. There's a long story there. I've talked about it somewhat, and what I would like to do here is just to convey as much of their message as I possibly can. If you look online, you can find them on YouTube, and you can literally hear essentially the stump speech or the message exactly as I heard it today. So there's not a huge amount of difference. And the main emphasis is really on something that I picked up on, but am still kind of processing and learning more about. The division between Israelis and Palestinians in Israel and Palestine is something that is very hard, I think, for Western or Oriental, whatever minds to understand, because it's not something that happens in many places. It is a system of apartheid. But to describe it even further, and they described, Rabbi Schlesinger told a story about how he was with some visiting pastors and taking them through the Holy Land, and they picked up two hitchhikers. And the pastor said, "Why did you pick up this is you're doing something that's a good deed. Like, why would you pick up a hitchhiker? We don't pick up hitchhikers in America. This is crazy." And he told them, "Well, no, I pick up everyone that sticks out their thumb. I am, we all take care of each other in this society." But what he realized in his mind when he said that was that it was not true. He did not take the Palestinians who stuck their thumbs out. He only picked up Jewish hitchhikers. This started him on a journey to the point where now he meets with Palestinians, and with great difficulty, because Palestinians sit behind military checkpoints. They're not allowed to move freely. Israelis can. They're all afraid to go into Palestinian villages because they believe that they will all kill them. And there's been so much killing on both sides, they may be right. But for the most part, Palestinians, citizens, are just trying to live their lives normally without any trouble, like everybody else. The majority of the Israeli citizens, no matter how propagandized they are, no matter how ignorant they are of the other side, or bigoted or racist towards Palestinians, still, they just want to live their life in peace. Everyone wants peace. Shalom, salam, peace. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. We all want peace and we all want freedom. That is human. All of us as humans want peace and we want freedom. You don't have freedom if you're in a prison camp. I hate to tell you, and most people don't understand what that feels like, but to not be able to leave an area, to know that your fate is in the hands of someone else and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And then on top of that, to have your food rationed, to have people terrorize you, treat you like less than human. That is not easy to deal with, and is perfectly understandable after decades of this, of people's parents, their families' land being taken, of settlers coming and committing violence with impunity in your land. It can create violence. And the other gentleman who spoke, his name is Nur Awad, and he is a Palestinian who had given up on peace. He had given up on peace because he was lied to by Israelis. He was brutalized by Israelis. He was mistreated by Israelis. The only Israelis that he met were soldiers. So he didn't know what real Jewish people were like, or real Israelis were like, because all he met were the soldiers that are there as prison guards. If anyone knows anything about prison guards, it's us against them. Look into the Stanford experiment. Imagine that on a massive scale with a 2 million plus population, to treat them all as if they're in prison. And then the prisons on top of that, where they take them if they throw rocks at tanks. Imagine how dark and disgusting they are if in the population they will not allow them to have spaghetti or jam because they consider it a luxury good, and they don't think these people deserve to eat spaghetti or put jam on their bread. That happened all before October 7th. So I sat in this congregation. It was mostly Jewish people. It was probably about 80 people there. It was a very big turnout. They sang some songs. They beat a drum. It was very nice. And then Rabbi Schlesinger spoke, and I could feel the tension in the room. And he started his speech with saying, there are things that you're not going to want to hear. Their approach is to have a Palestinian and an Israeli sit side by side, and the Israeli tells his truth, to the Palestinian, and the Palestinian tells his truth to the Israeli. And no matter how difficult it is for them to hear, because these are two competing histories, they're two competing ideologies, they're everything from both sides, they're stubbornly locked in place because there has been so much violence. So one way to try to break through that fog is with this dialogue with people from Palestine, from Israel, coming together just to see each other as humans. So I really applaud them for that. I took both of their numbers. I'll try to get in touch with them. Maybe I can do an interview on the show. I'm not going to promise anything because I don't want to cheapen what they're trying to do by making it into entertainment. So, you know, as much as I wanted to, I didn't pull my phone out. I didn't take any videos. They're on Facebook. You can see Friends of Roots. If you want to see Nora Awad or Rabbi Schlesinger, you can just look them up and go. And I talked to Jewish people. I heard Jewish people ask questions of Noor, and their questions were all, well, Hamas, what is Hamas going to do? Hamas is, and I could see in his face, they didn't even know. These three Jewish women didn't even know that Hamas was actually elected. And the government, they're like, oh, Hamas wasn't elected, right? Like there's just some, a jihad terrorist group that just ran and took over the country. No, the Palestinians elected them because the Oslo Peace Accords fell apart. All of these tries, all this, this fighting between each other, and then the peace deal, and then it gets broken, and then there's a peace deal, and then it gets broken, and then more people die. They lose more and more land. They're pushed and corralled into tinier places. What they ask us to do at Roots is the most difficult thing of all. To hold two truths in our minds at the same time. One, Israelis have a connection to the land, and they're not going to leave. Two, Palestinians have a connection to the land, and they're not going to leave. Noor is working with a group, I believe it's called All Our Land, and I'll try and post it because I wrote it down. I don't want to mess up the video. So hopefully I'll get more involved with them and do more work with them. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. It was a very, very good meeting. They're doing this all over the United States. Oh, that's right. And one thing I did not know, Noor mentioned one form of activism that I never even considered, and this is why it's important to really get involved with people who live there, who are on the ground on both sides, and understand what their perspectives are. Because we're in America. If we're in America or we're somewhere else, if you're not there, you need to do a lot of learning to understand the situation. It's very complex. There's a lot of emotions involved. There's a lot of dead family members involved. Notwithstanding what Israel is doing in Gaza at the moment is beyond the pale. There's absolutely nothing to justify it whatsoever. But Hamas was elected as a government in both Gaza and the West Bank, and he had to correct them. And he also had to remind them that there's a reason why Hamas was elected, because they promised to fight the occupation with violence, because they had tried peace over and over and over again. The first Intifada, the second Intifada. They were all expelled in the 60s. So there's a lot of damage that has been done on both sides, and there's a lot of weird religious feelings in this as well. And I just would encourage everyone to take as much time as you can to try and understand what's going on in the situation. And then the best way forward, as far as what they proposed, at least I won't say it's the best way forward, but this is one of the ideas that Noor and some other people are working on. Beyond just reaching out to Palestinians, letting them know all Jews don't hate you, don't want to kill you. Rabbi Schlesinger reaching out to Jewish people, all Palestinians don't hate you, don't want to kill you. Meet them, they're human. You're human, they bleed just like you, they're human just like you. There's no one better or worse. But the idea is to not necessarily a two-state solution. They've thrown this idea of a two-state solution out and kind of used it as a stalling tactic, I believe, to continue stealing more land. And so the government has to change, of course. We need pressure from other governments. We need to pressure our governments to intervene and act. I know a lot of people are, and there's lawsuits and there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's great that there's movement on the issue because it was completely deadlocked. And if Hamas had not done what they did on October 7th, the Palestinian people maybe have already been erased. So keep that in mind, and still not justifying what they did. So these are advocates for peace. They think they can have a two-state solution where it's essentially all together like the European Union. Two states, but they collaborate with each other, speak with each other. One can be all Jewish, one can be Palestinian, but they can either live in each other's territory. They have roads that connect the two, the Strip to the West Bank, road connecting to the Red Sea and Jerusalem. And there's some very good ideas about how they can have peace, but it has to start at the base level of people's understanding the humanity of the other side, because everyone is just stubbornly locked in this blood feud where they don't want to move. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, you guys.